Something in your eyes makes me want to lose myself, makes me want to lose myself in your arms. There's something in your voice makes my heart beat fast. Hope this feeling lasts the rest of my life. If you knew how lonely my life has been and how low I felt for so long, if you knew someone to come along and change my life the way you've done. Feels like home to me, feels like home to me, feels like I'm all the way back where I come from. Feels like home to me, feels like home to me, feels like I'm all the way back where I belong. A window breaks down a long dark street, and a siren wails in the night. But I'm alright, 'cause I have you here with me, and I can almost see through the dark there's a light. If you knew how much this moment means to me, and how long I've waited for your touch. If you knew how happy you are making me, I've never thought I'd love anyone so much. Feels like home to me, feels like home to me, feels like I'm all the way back where I come from. Feels like home to me, feels like home to me, feels like I'm all the way back where I belong. Feels like I'm all the way back where I belong.
Hello. My name's Bill Levering. You have stumbled into Jazz Vespers and a fabulous Jazz Vespers tonight. We have 24 plus musicians here ready to share with you some extraordinary tunes about an extraordinary life. We're gathered here to share the poignancy, the wonder of Scott Bassinson's life and the music that he loved. I want to invite Meg forward. She's going to introduce the first tune, and we're going to, as we go along tonight, ask for folks if they want to talk for 15 seconds and come up here. We'll be having that opportunity for you as the night goes on. Where's Meg? Come on.
Thank you all so much for coming. I just look at everybody around here. I love you all so much. And we've been waiting a long time to do this. And I just want to start by saying that Scott picked all the music for this, except for two things. I picked the last song because it reminded me of him. And Mary, who's kind of our adopted daughter, she picked her song. But all the other songs Scott picked, he wanted them at his memorial. And music was, you all know, it was so important to him. I mean, his mother was a band singer, big band singer. All his siblings are musical. They all grew up playing piano and singing harmonies together, and he just loved music. It was a thread that ran through his life. And we have friends from way back, musicians. His oldest friend is here. They knew each other when they were 4 years old. And then friends through high school and college and Boston and now from here, the wonderful friends here. And Scott came out with a CD a few years ago, and it's actually back on that table if anybody would like a copy. And so we're going to start with a tune from his CD, and I thought it was perfect because it's called We Gather Together.
If you have stumbled into this Jazz Vespers because it's your habit and you're wondering what the heck is going on, today is a special Jazz Vespers in honor of Scott Bassinson, who played here many, many, many times and loved this place, loved these musicians, and this is a service in his honor. And we're celebrating the music and the wonder that was his life. The next tune is a tune by Coldplay and by Nickel Creek. And Scott it was on his CD, and he wrote this for their son Max. And it's called I Will Fix You, I Will Catch You. like to read to you something that Scott wrote March of last year, sort of in preparation and in his understanding. He writes, "If we are blessed by awakening in a morning, we can acknowledge and be grateful for the miracle of awakening, and then the infinite miracle of that into which we awaken. This improbable miracle of a universe. The senses, the ability to communicate, to appreciate, to love the spectrum of emotions, creativity, nurturance, comfort, the thirst for understanding and knowledge, intentionality, justice, quest for guidance, and the balm and rapture of music." Scott Bassinson. After the next tune, we'll be taking people, if you want to come up and tell just a little story. Did I say 15 seconds? Just a tiny little story about something you noticed. After this next tune, Little Feet, written for their late son Max by Scott, lyrics by Meg.
Here we go. Hello, hello. I hear those little feet pattering down the hall. It is our son. The sun woke him up and he can't go back to sleep without his mom and daddy. So he climbs into our bed and happily he rests his head. He will snuggle up right in the middle of us, falls back to sleep. How long will he do this every day? It's the same way. When will he learn to sleep all by himself? He's getting older now. And then one day, his little feet don't stray. It is time for him to pull away, to go his solo way, 'cause he's growing up. My little boy, I miss the sound of your little feet, but I'll hear them in my dreams.
I don't know if I need to say this, but it's okay to have feelings today, as if you have a choice, and sometimes in the poignancy of Scott's life and the music that he brings to us. Is there anybody to have a little story they want to tell? And an extra short one. You have to come on all the way up here. We'll take one more after she's done. Who wants to come up in addition? Anybody else? Okay, wait till, okay, and then after, so, and just two, and then you're gonna go after that. And then after a song or two.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I am Susan, proud to be Meg's mother. I did time as Scott's mother-in-law for 32 years. Or rephrasing it, he did time as my son-in-law. Scott did not realize when he fell in love with Meg and married her that he got our entire family. The first time I met him when they were courting, I drove from Albany to Syracuse to meet this guy she was raving about. And Scott and I were alone in the kitchen chatting. And I said, I hear you're interested in music. You're a musician. He said he was. And he said, what kind of music do you like? And I said, I love almost all kinds of music. I'm not crazy about rap or country, but all the rest, even opera, the whole thing. But I am really a huge Elvis fan. Without missing a beat, Scott said, who's Elvis? And me, completely falling for it, started explaining who Elvis was. Part two of the story is when I turned 60, Scott arranged with my children, he led the effort to send me and my son Andy, another musician, to Graceland for several days, all expenses paid, the plane, the hotel. And he said to me, it's about time you saw Graceland. So I think now I'm the matriarch of the family since all the elders are gone. This wonderful family. And that includes you siblings, by the way. You can't escape. I loved Scott's stories and his sense of humor. How he talked about roasting and eating roasted squirrels at his grandmother's. For over 3 decades, we had squirrel jokes. We gave squirrel presents. He and I were absolutely on the same wavelength with humor, which was wonderful. That was, in the worst times, that was a saving. I just want to say a couple things. First of all, many of you were at their wedding. Scott was so loyal to his friends, and they were loyal to him. Many of them came while he was sick. A few times, the rare times that Meg couldn't be at his side in chemo and radiation, I had the privilege of going with him. One time, and he was so courageous, but one time we talked about music and he cried. It was only the second time I ever heard him cry. The first time, of course, was when Max died. Ovid rhymes with COVID. Jesus, we've all got that on our mind, right? Thank God we're all here. Ovid, the great Roman philosopher, was grieving his wife centuries ago, and he said, "My heart is tired out." Losing Max and now losing Scott has been a tremendous blow. And I have to say, I admire Meg and Paul. They were determined to live each day, to not succumb to such grief that they couldn't keep functioning. They are amazing, as is my wonderful family. We've stuck like glue, and I grieve for Scott's siblings. He's the first of the 4 to go, and that's hard. So in conclusion, I want to thank you all for coming. I know how much your visits meant to Scott, and we got Maggie got 4 shopping bags full of sympathy cards and letters. I got 1 shopping bag myself as his mother-in-law. So God bless you all. Have safe trips home, and thank you to the musicians. What an incredible job. And they're all Scott's friends. Good night. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Dave Monroe. We all know Scott was an incredible musician, but I want to talk about what he did in his day job. Scott was a brilliant lawyer. He worked in the private sector, he worked for a renowned federal judge, and he worked in the energy and environmental fields and for 3 different state agencies, the AG's Environmental Protection Bureau, DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation, and finally in the Public Service Commission. And he was brilliant. Many of us strive for semi-brilliance in the legal profession, but he was really outstanding. And Scott would get into work early, he'd work really hard, and then he'd drive to Saratoga for a gig like 3 days a week. And but he always seemed, he never seemed exhausted. He was incredibly enthusiastic. And we all miss him terribly.
Next, we're going to hear 2 standards, Young and Foolish and While We Were Young.
Trust me, when Scott got to Saratoga for those gigs, he had a strong cup of espresso in his hand. Young and foolish, why is it wrong to be young and foolish? We haven't long to be. Soon enough, the carefree days, the sunlit days go by. Soon enough, the bluebird has to fly. We were foolish. One day we fell in love. Now we wonder what we were dreaming of, smiling in the sunlight, laughing in the rain. I wish that we were young and foolish again. We must fulfill this golden time when hearts awake so shyly, softly. Songs were made to sing while we're young. Every day is spring while we're young. None can refuse. Time flies so fast, too dear to lose. too sweet to last, though it may be just for today. Share our love we must while we may. So blue the skies, oh sweet surprise shines before our eyes when we're young.
Not everyone who loves Scott was able to be here tonight. I want to read some words from Bob Warren, who sent these in. In the time I knew Scott, I developed a deep love for him, not surprising at all when I think of his kind, gentle, caring soul. He was truly one of the few people I ever met who I wanted to be like in every way. His humble genius, his buoyant optimism, and infectious smile will always live in my memory. His musical sensibility, 7 lifetimes my own, amazes me to this day. We have a couple other folks who would like to talk in this round. Come on.
I'd like to make this quick, but I'd like to make a point that I think comes as no surprise to any of us. I've known Scott since 1995. My name is Sam Zucchini, by the way. I'm a drummer. I've known Scott since 1995. Our first gig was then of many. In 2019, in the thick of Scott's illness, I was touring the South thinking I was feeling great and suddenly started to get chest pains. And a couple days later, found myself in a hospital room about to go in for quadruple bypass open heart surgery. Waking up in the hospital room to a buzzing phone and someone trying to FaceTime me, and it turned out to be Scott while he was in the middle of all he was going through with his little white mane mohawk, running his fingers through it, saying, "Hey man, how you doing?" As if he had, didn't have other things to worry about. Needless to say, I did make it through the surgery. I'm here. His selflessness comes as no surprise to any of us, and he continued to check in on me. So there you have it, something that's not a surprise to anybody. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I am Devin. Max was one of my best friends, and in the wake of Max's passing, I became very close with Scott as a friend, as a father figure, and it was one of the most unique relationships of my life. I wrote him a letter as he was passing, and I wasn't able to share the letter with him in time before he passed. And it is a long letter, but I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I would love to share with you a paragraph and a conclusion from it. I wrote to Scott the snippets I will share. My man, Scotty B. It is hard to begin, well, not now, but it is hard to begin, but easy to remember. As I sit on my bed, I smile and laugh, which punctuate my tears that fall as I recall the joy, the love, and the depth that all I have shared with you. I remember one beautiful, sunny autumn afternoon in Minneapolis. You know, that rare kind of early autumn afternoon when the sun is really strong, like summer, but the air is a bit brisk like fall, and the leaves are turning into oranges and reds, and a few are falling. It was the fall that followed Max's passing in the spring. Our adventure that day was a bike ride through the Twin Cities, from Minneapolis to St. Paul and back to Augsburg. We picked you up a nice ride, city bike, at a kiosk off Riverside Avenue, directly down the street from Step Up. I was so excited to show you the city paths, the streets, the trails, the parks that Max and I adventured together. After you made some initial adjustments to your green public bike, I do believe you had to lower the seat a little bit. Off we went pedaling, consumed a nonstop discussion as you and I do, as Max and I did. We biked into the college town streets of Dinkytown, along the shaded trails of the Mississippi River, and into the charming residencies of St. Paul, where we stopped for coffee at the Dunn Brothers along Marshall Avenue, a stone's throw away from the Palace of Prezi Pribs, which was the Augsburg mansion of President Paul Bribenow. I ordered a cold brew, and Scott, of course, a mocha. We sat at a city bench looking down at the winding expanse of the Mississippi River, talking politics and Noam Chomsky. You said something here to this day that I hold as a trophy. Man, you admitted with a smile dashed across your face. You really do bring out my old lefty bones. And I know you have a taste for jazz, but that was music to my ears. One last thing. I love you, Scott. I can't capture all that we shared within one letter. You were the most unique friend I ever had, a friendship completely born out of tragedy, from the very beginning, profound and inexplicable. Over the years, I have tried to put the mystery of our connection into words, and I think I came just a little bit closer this time. Through you, I was connected to Max. I learned more about him from you through a friendship with you as you. You gave me you and Max. That is the simplest yet truest way I can say it. You're a friend and a father. I feel so lucky to have known you and to have shared a relationship whose singularly unique window into life I will always remember.
Thank you. Yeah. And now a title that talks to perhaps what's happening, Amending with Time, written by Keith Prey, tune Scott Love. The next tune we're going to have is A Field of Gold, and while the musicians are coming forward, I want to get you tuned up for something. First of all, Jazz Vespers usually lasts an hour, and if you know us, it's an hour, but this one's going to last longer. So settle in. We're going to be here. We're not stopping at 6 o'clock. So 6:30, 7, I know, 7 at the very outset. But to get you really excited about what's going to happen afterwards, a food truck has pulled up outside that entrance. I'm not kidding. Scott loved that kind of food, and so after this, there is a food truck out that entrance, and Meg and the family invite you to go and partake of the wonderful joys of a food truck and to hang around after this is over, which, I don't know, 6:30, who knows? It's jazz, and we're having a great time, and we're celebrating a great life. Field of Gold, a tune by Sting that Scott loved.
You'll remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. So she took her love for to gaze a while among the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her hair came down among the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love among the fields of barley? You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. I never made promises lightly, and there have been some that I've broken, but I swear in the days still left, we will walk in fields of gold. We will walk in fields of gold. Fields of gold. Ooh. Many years have passed since those summer days among the fields of barley. See the children run as the sun goes down, as we lie in fields of gold. You'll remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky as we walk in fields of gold. When we walked in fields of gold. When we walked in fields of gold.
Our lives are tapestries. Our lives are symphonies. Thank you for the voices. And two other parts of the symphony that was his life. We'd like to hear from a couple of them. Come on up. Watch those steps.
I've been warned, but you do your own stunts, I see. So my name is Kristen, and Scott is my daughter's uncle. And Scott would always take time for the two of us to sneak into the kitchen and have a cup of coffee together during family gatherings, because as Susan said, it's a bit intense. And Scott would say, you know, they're crazy, but we're really the crazy ones because we joined this family by choice. And the other thing I want to say just real quick is that Meg played the piano at my wedding. And one of the songs was one of the same songs that was at her and Scott's wedding. And one of my favorite memories of my wedding day was standing there looking over at the two of them sitting on the piano bench together, cuddled together, because as anyone who was there will tell you, it was cold. And I just remember looking at the two of them and going, that's what I want. That's like the kind of love that I want in my life. And I'm so glad that I had that model shown to me. And I'm so glad that Scott was in my life and that you guys are in my life. I love you.
Well, this is probably not going to be short because I'm going to lose it. So in middle school, Scott was a nerd. And we transferred to the same school district around the same time. And I had no friends the first year except for this guy right here. Because we took our bar mitzvah lessons together. But somehow in 8th grade, I became part of the sarcastic crowd. I don't know how it happened. And we mercilessly made fun of the nerds. And then in 9th grade, I was sitting in the back of the biology class the first day. And one of the nerds comes, sits down beside me, and we became lab partners. And from that moment on, I learned what a connection was. We had this thing where we could look at each other and think the same thought at the same time, over and over and over again. And we called it Hi Me. Hi Me. And in fact, later on, when we had a band, this guy was in it, this guy was in it, and that guy somewhere over there was in it. We called the band Hi Me. Anyway, we went through high school, and Sheldon and Scott and I were inseparable. And later, this is about, foolish youth. I was listening to the songs of that, We were fools and youthful at the same time. And eventually he moved to Boston and we became roommates all over again. And that really solidified our friendship for life. And I learned what love was. And then I moved to California, and through the years, our families, we met our families, and our families grew. He met Meg, we had our children, and I was thousands of miles away. But every time we got together, it was for weddings, for vacations, for funerals. It was like nothing ever changed. And the funny thing was, over the years, Scott got kinder and kinder and more spiritual, and I just stayed the same asshole. but I don't know what else to say, except he and I were loves of each other's lives, and I think part of the reason he did become kinder and more spiritual was that woman over there. And like the last person said, I always envied the love that they had for each other. And in closing, these three siblings here were my siblings, and I never would have learned as much about a squirrel without you three. So I thank you for that.
Next up, Carried Me With You, a tune by Brandy Carlisle, chosen by Scott's adopted daughter, Mary. Mary was Max's girlfriend, lived with them summer after Max died. Here we go. Carried Me With You.
Can you tell I haven't performed in a long time? I don't know when to approach the mic. Are we on now? Oh, now we're on. Anyway, yes, I'm the other person that got roped into the crazy. Very willingly, very willingly. But yeah, this is for the father figure of my life and the couple that I've always strived to be. And I'm not good with speaking, so I'm going to sing now.
Soul who understands the scars that made me who I am. Through the drifting sands of time, I got your back and you got mine. If you bear a heavy load, I'll be the wheels, I'll be the road. I'll see us through thick and thin, for love and loss until the end. 'Cause you carried me with you, from the highest of the peaks to the darkness of the blue. I was just too blind to see. Like a lighthouse in a storm, you were always guiding me. Yeah, it's true. You carried me with you. From the day it all began, you were there, you took my hand. And when I heard a bit too deep, you watched me as I fell asleep. And when my head was in the clouds, you found a way to pull me out. You picked my heart up off the ground, showed me. Yeah, you carried me with you, from the highest of the peaks to the darkness of the blue. I was lost, too blind to see. In a storm, you were always guiding me. Yeah, it's true. You carried me with you. We'll be sitting on the world together, watching as the days turn into nights. We know how to brave that stormy weather, and we're never giving up without a fight. 'Cause if you ever bear a heavy load, I'll be the wheels, I'll be the road. I'll see us through thick and thin, for love and loss until the end. 'Cause you carried me with you, from the highest of the peaks to the darkness of the blue. I was just too blind to see.
Hi, my name is Glenn, and I just want to share a very humorous aspect about Scott's personality that I found endearing. Maybe some of you know it. If Scott owed you money, he could not rest. It would, and I'm not talking huge amounts, you know, small amounts. I swear it would keep him up at night. And my wife and I would quite often go out with Scott and Meg to a concert, a show, whatever. And for whatever reason, more often than not, I'd buy the tickets. Well, within a day, email would come from, what do I owe you, Glenn, for the money? What do I owe you? And I, Scott, relax. Well, when you got to the venue, before he could say hello, he would come up and say, what do I owe you? What do I owe you? Had to do that before he could even relax. But more importantly, he had to pay you to the penny. So he would bring all sorts of denominations of cash. And then under his jacket, remember the ice cream man had that change dispenser? Well, he'd click off quarters, nickels, and dimes. And then he could relax. Well, one day, he bought the tickets. So I figured I'd give him a taste of his own medicine. So within hours, I started texting him. Every couple of hours, voicemail, text, email. What do I owe you? I sent him a first-class letter. He said, man, relax, relax. So as soon as we got to the venue, I said, what do I owe you, Scott? What do I owe you? And he said, oh, well, it turned out it was $41.53. And I only had $41.50. So I said, Scott, do you want me to go across the street? I see if I can break this nickel and get you 3 pennies. And, no, man, relax, relax. Well, the very next day, I went to the post office, and I bought a big envelope, got tracking, and inside I dropped 3 pennies. And the next day, I get this call, and in that infectious laugh of his, he just laughed and laughed and laughed about it, and it was just something that I always remember. So that's it.
Someone generously was trying to give a Honda car to the church and dropped their keys outside. And we want to thank whoever left us this Honda car and these keys. And if you'd like a receipt, please come up afterwards and get this that we found. We're gonna, as the musicians can come forward, but we're going to pray. Now, in my experience, people who come to Jazz Vespers aren't the most religious people, but they have a deep spirituality. So we're going to pray in whatever way that you're accustomed to. You want to close your eyes? That's okay. If you don't trust us enough and you want to keep your eyes open, that's okay too. But we're going to talk about what's important. We're going to talk about, we gather together to say what's important. And today we're saying his life was important. On other days we say honesty is important. On other days, and we gather together to say what's important, and sometimes we call it prayer. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-loving God, beyond the highest truth, you who created us, who spun the world, you who made the mysteries of melody and the complexities of harmony. We thank you for this life that we have gathered here to recognize and celebrate. We thank you for the life that you have given all of us and for the melodies and harmonies that weave who we are. Help us to lift our hearts and our eyes. Help us to see what is important in his life and in our lives and in everyone's life. Be with us in this music. May it calm us. May it give us a taste of that peace that is the final and best truth. All this we ask in your holy name. Amen. And now we're going to hear a song from the video game Final Fantasy that Max played at a recital, and it was loved. Scott's brother Kevin arranged the song for today's service. To Znarkland? How do we say this? Zenerkin, of course.
Hi, my name's Jeff Shelley. I wasn't sure I was going to do this. I know Scott is laughing at me right now because he knows how much I don't like public speaking. And he knows that because the only other time I've done something like this is at the remembrance for Gus Chilakis. Gus was the judge that Scott clerked for, and Gus is, other than my father, Gus is the only other person I've called a hero in my life that I've known. You know, I admire Scott for all the reasons people have spoken about today. He was just a great guy. I mean, just a great guy. And one of the things, probably the thing I appreciated the most was I think we shared a similar sense of humor. And whenever we got together, we were always laughing, always. And when the pictures came up today, I was hoping that Meg might have included a picture that Scott sent to me just a week before he died. He was proud of this picture. And I can understand why Meg might not have wanted to include it. And maybe she doesn't even know the picture, but he sent it to me. And it's a picture. Gus Chilakis had something like ALS. I don't know. It was unique to Gus, but he became quite frail and weak and couldn't speak. And on the last day that he sat on the bench, Scott came by Chambers, and Scott's had this picture taken. And I can now say it actually has two of my heroes in that picture. It's a picture of Scott and Gus. And Gus is sitting down at his desk in Chambers, and Scott has his arm around him, and they're both laughing because in the corner of that picture, Gus Chilakis is going like this. And Scott got such a thrill out of that. I think that describes Scott's sense of humor. I know he would appreciate it. Thank you.
Paul Bassinson has something he'd like to read.
Wow, there we go. Wow, so this is actually happening. Wow, so, well, as the Reverend said, I'm Paul Bassinson. I'm Scott's son and only surviving child. So, oh God, I don't even know where to start. Reverend Levering, family members, friends, mourners, one and all. A king has fallen. A king has fallen. Not one of royal blood, but one of royal reputation. And boy, did he righteously earn that reputation. My father was a man who walked upright, even when the weight of the world was on his shoulders. He stood for justice, even when the world brought him to his knees. His tireless, lifelong fight for a better world was embodied through his love of family, friends, humor, music, hard work, and life itself. Now, how best to encapsulate such a well-lived life? My father lived 6.5 decades full of everything under the sun: ups, downs, setbacks, successes, and everything in between. He experienced love, loss, and lift on an incalculable scale. His role in my life as father meant everything to me. Thanks to him, I have a myriad of memories I will carry with me through the rest of my life. The characters he made up at bedtime during my childhood, like the Happy Operator and Joey Poopa. And I will happily tell you about that after this service if you would like, but I'm not going into detail at this point, so. The countless ways he supported my endeavors, cheered on my achievements, and helped provide a haven at home for when things got rough. The way he encouraged my brother and me to develop our musical talents in so many ways. And the way that he would, well into Max's and my adulthood, much to our chagrin, make explosion sound effects every time he served us seconds on our plates. His work ethic was awe-inspiring, fueled by mountains of mochas. Because of the fruits of his labor, he gave my brother and me wonderful opportunities in life. This included taking annual trips to Missouri to ensure we got to know both sides of our family. Trips across the country through a variety of states so we could appreciate all the wonderful diversity this beautiful country has to offer. Trips beyond mainland and national borders to places like Niagara Falls, Hawaii, Jamaica, and Japan. Trips through his personal and familial history to impart important lessons to us, like live in the moment, do well by your fellow human, and, of course, not to take life too seriously. My mother and I were at his hospital bedside the night he died. I like to imagine him walking off, not into a sunset, but a sunrise, walking toward his own beloved father and his own beloved son, who were waiting to greet him with open arms after half a century for the one and half a decade for the other of physical separation. Though you, David Scott, may have physically lost to Goliath, the victory you won was in the life you lived, which is all any of us can ever hope to do on this good earth. Thus has it always been, thus shall it forever be. God bless you, David Scott Bassinson. God bless you, David Scott Bassinson, and may he forever keep you in paradise, where you so rightfully belong.
Scott loved good blues. Whenever he'd get together with any musicians, be it one or six, he'd always call for a blues. Down so long.
down, don't bother me. I've been down so long. Being down, don't bother me. I'm gonna take all my troubles and drown them in the deep blue sea. Down so long. Down so long. I've been down so long. Down so long. I'm gonna take all my troubles, drown them in the deep blue. Take all my troubles, drown them in the deep blue. Take all my troubles and drown them in the deep blue sea.
Hi, I'm gonna just hop in real fast. I'm Goldie. I'm Sheldon's, almost said son, I'm Sheldon's daughter. But I almost didn't say anything. As you know, like with parents, friends, they don't really always get to know you as adults. And that's just how it is. I've been clearly surrounded by really cool friends of my parents my entire life. But, you know, Scott knew me as like a kid and then a little bit as an adult when he was just kind of around. I just remembered, I can't stop thinking about this one time, so I just figured I'd say it. He was just always sort of met you wherever you were. And that's something, wow, sorry. It's okay. Sorry. I was at home for the first time since graduating college. I'm just gonna fully cry. It's gonna be okay. I was at home for the first time since graduating college, and I was not having a great time. And Scott came back with my dad, and they had clearly had like a good day, but I had been listening to music, and so they wanted to know what I was listening to. And I just listened to a song by Phoebe Bridgers called Funeral, and I just put it on without thinking. And the first lines are, I'm singing at a funeral tomorrow for a kid a year older than me. I've been talking to his dad. It makes me so sad. When I think too much about it, I can't breathe. And I was like, I put it on, and I immediately was like, ah. Oh. But instead of the tone of the room shifting, he just sort of like sat there and listened. And immediately afterwards, had like a 3.5-hour conversation with us about life and death and where I was, as if it was right on the surface. And I apologized profusely. And he said, I think about it all the time. It's just there. I think about it all the time. And I think about that interaction all the time. And I don't think he ever knew, but that's who I want to be. I want to be someone that has that on the surface all the time. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you so much again, really. We've just been waiting for this for so long. And I'm so grateful. Again, I just want to thank you all so much for your love and your support. I want to thank Reverend Bill Levering. Thank you so much. He came out of retirement to do this. And I want to thank Bill McCann because he does a jazz show, and Scott died April of 2020, and we couldn't do anything. And Bill McCann devoted at least an hour of his radio show to Scott. And that was like a memorial for me, and I know so many of you. Thank you, Bill. It was beautiful. And, you know, I won't talk too long, but we all know Scott, he would just be so amazed, right, by all the people here and all the attention and all the love and all the planning. It'd be like, what, for me, right? Because he was so just low-key and humble, and we all know that he got a damn raw deal. And it breaks my heart because he just didn't deserve it. And he was diagnosed in April of 2019, and then a year later, he's gone, and he just did not deserve that. So I don't understand life. Yeah, I never have, and apparently the prize is not living a long time, because my son didn't, and now my husband didn't, and they were such wonderful people, and their dad didn't. So it's just a mystery. And, you know, I said on Facebook, Scott was my rock. He was my best friend. He was my knight in shining armor. I used to tell him that, and he thought it was so corny, but he really was. And I'll just say briefly how we met. That the first time I met Scott, so we were both musicians, and we were in different bands. And so I was 24 years old when I met him. And so I was in a band, he was in a band. Okay, what do musicians do when they're not playing? They go out and see other bands, right? So I went out and saw this band, and I always went up and talked to the keyboard player because I'm a keyboard player. Well, Scott, he's kind of shy. I mean, you know that about him too, right? So he was kind of behind this fortress of keyboards. And, you know, and I went up to him and I said, hi, I'm a keyboard player. What kind of stuff do you have? And, you know, but he barely said a word to me. He really barely said a word. And, you know, most musicians are like, yeah, I have this, and you want to sit in, right? There was none of that. And I went back and I sat down with my friend who I had come with, and I said, he was cold. And okay, so then a few months later, so I had a synthesizer. This was back in 1984. And I didn't really know how to use it. And so I asked a friend of mine, I said, do you know anybody who teaches synthesizer lessons? And he said, yeah, there's this guy, Scott Bassinson, and he teaches at a music schoolhouse. So I said, great, and I called them, and I signed up for a lesson. And then I went to the lesson, and I was like, oh my God, it's the cold guy. And he had never, you know, introduced himself to me, so I didn't know his name when they said it. And I thought, I hope he doesn't remember me, because he really didn't seem to like me. But then at the lesson, he was great. We had a great time. He was like he is. He was really funny, and he was charming, and, you know, and we had a great lesson. Then I had this big crush on him, and then I'm trying to figure out, well, should I let him know? Like, I kind of have this crush on him, but then it'll be really awkward if he doesn't like me, and then I'll have to stop the lessons. And but obviously it all worked out. So so anyway, and you know, everything that everybody has said about him, and I lived with him, and I know he was all that. He just was so wonderful, and he's such a loss. He's just such a loss, and I don't even know what else to say except I just love you, Scott, so much. And I've been going through his things, and I was reading in one of his journals, and he wrote this to you, Paul, and Max. He wrote this in 1994 so Max was 3 and Paul was 7. And I think he wrote it for them, but I think it's for all of us. And he wrote, "Life so unpredictable, so little known as true, but certain as that I have lived is all my love for you." Thank you.
Make me a channel of your peace.
Is this mic on? Just waiting for the mic. There it is. Okay. I just wanted to say something really quick. My husband, Paul Weinberg, was a very old friend of Scott's from the Boston days, musician days. They were in bands together. They lived together. And when I first met Paul, like 23 years ago, he said to me, "You've got to meet my friend Scott. He's like the kindest, best person, like the kindest man I know." And when I met Scott and he came in, and this photo actually really reminded me of that, because that was the face I saw when he came in, just this really smiling, happy, generous, like present guy. And I was really struck by how present Scott always was. Like, he was really curious, and he would just really focus on the conversation. And I was just really moved by that with Scott. And when Meg asked me to sing this song, I wasn't familiar with it. It's called "Make Me a Channel of Your Peace," and the lyric, and it says prayer of St. Francis. So I looked up St. Francis, and there were just a couple of quotes that reminded me of Scott. And one is, start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you're doing the impossible. And the other quote of St. Francis is, "For it is in the giving that we receive." And that really reminded me of Scott. I thought about how giving he was to always just be so present and to show up. So please sing this chorus with me if you know this song. I'm going to sing the chorus at the top of the song, and then join in, please. Make me the channel of your peace. Make me, oh, make me
channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there's injury, grant mercy, O Lord. Where there's doubt, true faith in you. Oh, make me, yeah, make me the channel of your peace. Make me the channel of your peace. Where there's despair, let me bring you hope. Where there's darkness, let me be your light. Where there's sadness, oh, but joy. Yeah, yeah, Lord, make me, oh, Lord, Lord, make me the channel of your peace. Oh, make me the channel of your peace. Oh, Master, correct the thought that I may see. So much to be consoled, to console, to be understood and to understand, to be loved, to love with all my soul. Oh, make me, oh Lord, make me the channel of your peace. Oh, make me, Lord, oh, make me the channel of your peace. It's in the forgiving that we are forgiven, in giving of ourselves that we receive, and in the dying, oh, in the dying, that we are born to eternal life. Oh, make me, yeah, make me the channel of your peace. Oh, make me the channel of your peace. Make me the channel of your peace. Your peace. Your peace.
You just keep applauding, because I'm going to call out the names of all the musicians that have played here tonight. Meg Bassinson, Brian Patino, Dylan Canterbury, Ben O'Shea, Ed Torget, Bob Halleck, Gene O'Connor, Peg Delaney, Keith Prey, keep clapping, come on. Mike Lawrence, Joe Barna, Janine Ouderkirk, Sheldon Morowitz, Paul Weinberg, Mary Lowen, Goldie Flavel, Cal Hurwitz, Scott Bredman, Kevin Bassinson, Allison Jacob, Heather Chan, Peyton Roach, Avery Roach, Jeff Bassinson, Nikki Gregorov. All right, sit down. We've been through some tough times in our nation. We've been through some tough times in our world. No one went through tougher times than Scott. And yet, he was a shining light, an example of how we can all overcome. The benediction comes to us at the end of this service, as it does at the end of our life and at the end of everything. It is the good speaking. It is the blessing of God and all that is true that follows us, that dwells within us, that our music expresses. Go out into the world in peace. Give no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, and may the blessings of God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, be with you now and always. Go away. Food truck, first floor, down that hallway. Go out that exit door, go get some food. Come on, they're getting cheesesteaks. Come on, down that hallway.